have everybody's, first item is, we'll do the minutes. Then I wanna change the order and do the school, because most of the people here are from the
Recording
school
in
and they
progress.
have a ways to go to get home. So we'll let them go first. So, we have the minutes from our last meeting, which was on January 8th. Do I hear a motion on them?
I'll second.
All those in favor? Any opposed?
Wait.
Any abstain?
No, but I have an edit to the
All right.
minutes. Sorry, I've gotta find it on my little phone here. There was a conversation, the paragraph that begins, the budget committee asked of the school if this proposed budget is the only budget that will not negatively affect that paragraph. The very last sentence says, but it was ultimately determined that any of these reductions would be a detriment to the students and staff. I believe 2 of the reductions we did agree that, but the high school trust was one where we just had not discussed with the full board whether it could be used.
So we should say that 2 of these reductions,
Yes, the decreasing food services, the physician and academic director, those were the 2 that were identified.
okay, good catch. I looked at that and thought it was okay, I will second that change.
All right, as amended, did you get that?
Yes,
All right.
yes.
Thank you.
Make sure the scribe gets it. All right, as amended. Those in favor? Opposed? Abstained? All right. Now, as I said, I'd like to just change the order because we've got a number of people here that are, I'm assuming, are here for the school budget. And some of them, at least 2 of them, have a little further to go to get home tonight. So I would like to let them go first so that they can go, and you wanna lead off, because you had a
Sure.
sort of summary sheet of what you've done.
Right, so, we, lowered the budget to the 3.3, it's roughly $159,000. A very active discussion at the last board meeting yesterday, which I was not at because I was ill. But the consensus of that meeting was to look towards the high school trust. Today, it turns out to be the day in which Vermont has to announce their tuitions and make them public. And so we got the official tuition from Thetford, and we got the official tuition from St. Johnsbury. And I contacted Hanover, and they gave me the tuition that they haven't actually announced yet, but this is what the tuition is going to be. So we plugged those in, and Hanover has had, they have a fairly complicated formula they use, but built into that was capital improvement money and bond money. And they have paid off their 10-year bond for all the improvements they did to those buildings 10 years ago. And so that's why we're now seeing a reduction in tuition, because that's coming out of the formula at the level that it once was. So we put those real numbers into our budget, and so the net result of that was that we only have to take $60,000 in high school reserve money to bring it all the way down, bring the whole $159,000 down. So that's good. That will leave the high school reserve at $400,000. So that's down some. And I think if we want to get to our goal probably over the next couple of years, I think your board will, the school board will work to bring that down more. And do it over a period of a few years is probably a better way to do it than do it all at once, because then you have to make it all up in taxes. So we felt very, very good about that, so we are where we are. Answer questions. We think it helps the town out a little bit to, we hit your target, and we're absorbing that bond payment into our first year, which is a pretty big hit, so.
I didn't look at the quote warrant, cause I didn't have it. Do you have any money articles other than the one big one?
We have two
Yes.
trust warrant articles.
All right.
Do you not have that?
I think I have it here. Those are usually cut and dry because there is, if you have a surplus, right?
Yep,
Right,
yep, and, so Article 3 is the transfer from surplus to the Enrollment Response Trust. And that is a total of $27,000 to come from fund balance. And that's to bring the Enrollment Response Trust up to the teacher, cost of one teacher plus benefits. And then Article 4 is transfer $50,000 from the surplus to the Maintenance Capital Reserve Fund.
And then the salary of your people there. for-
Yeah. Yep,
Yes.
and that's also in Article 2, yeah, those,
It's Article 5,
All
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
What I would like to do is, if anybody on the board has any questions about the school budget at this point in time, and anybody in the public has any comments they want, and then I'd like to take a motion for basically our recommendations to go to the public hearing, which I think is what, 3 weeks out?
is the 5th.
Sorry, yes, the fifth.
So that the next time we have to deal with the school is at the public hearing, if everything works well. Because they took our guidance.
I would like to say, if I may, thank you very much. It really is a relief, and it shows really strong intent to try and come together and make a budget that the town residents can approve, no matter whether it's school function or town function. Really appreciate it.
That we can work together and have a common meeting of the minds.
the more the better.
More or less.
I have a question. So I think we heard last time, and if you could remind me, that there was a intent to withdraw 60 or 70,000 from the high school reserve budget for this year, but then, or some amount, I don't recall what it was, but then you ended up not withdrawing that.
Yep, so we had budgeted, so we budget the deficit, right, in that line of $50,000 for FY '25, which is what we're in now. We have lost a couple of high school students, so that number will not be used in FY '25. So we will not, so that, the trust fund balance should maintain into the next fiscal year.
We were gonna be taking out more than the 60,000 to get to 3.3.
Right, but yeah, I just want
Yeah.
I guess, wanted to be on the record that this often happens, is that less is withdrawn from the, I mean, it's good news that you have less to spend on high school tuitions, but that, you know, there's this intent to spend $50,000 or $100,000 out of the high school budget, and then you just kinda like, it ends up being whatever's left over, I think.
Yeah, yeah, I think that happens a lot because you're basing it in the fall on student numbers that aren't gonna come in until the next fall, and that's hard to predict.
Right,
Yeah,
right. So
yeah,
I
and
just-
this year we lost 2 students, which was about $50,000, yeah.
Yeah, so I think it was good news, but let's make sure we keep an eye on the high school reserve trust fund.
Well, as I said, we're gonna have about 400K left in it after this withdrawal.
Well, if they end up withdrawing.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that's why we're gonna keep working on it.
Yeah.
Any other comments?
And Frank, did I hear you say that you're gonna strive toward a goal over the next couple of years? There was a number thrown around, but let me, what goal?
What we're thinking about right now is probably around 300.
Mhm.
If we could have that at a level, that would be, I think, more than sufficient. I mean, if tuitions start to really go up high, then you may wanna revisit it again, but
Okay,
I think 300 is probably a good number.
great.
I have a few questions from Zoom.
Thanks. Go.
So this, as compared to last week, is, we're kinda lucky, right? In that, you know, you lost a couple students and then you found out that the cost is going down. So really, that's kinda, right, I mean, kinda got lucky between now and then. Were there any other budgetary line changes up and down that you can highlight? I mean, did not see this budget.
No,
Between last week and this week, no,
No.
Right.
just that, high school.
Okay. And did the school board vote last night on this meeting? I'm sorry, on this budget?
Yes,
And what was that vote?
5-2, and then unanimous for the warrants.
Do you have any input at all on the dissenting votes?
Nope, they just voted no. They
Any
didn't say
comments,
why.
questions, further, any from the public?
I'm answering because Frank wasn't there, I apologize. That's why I know I'm the public.
All right, what I would like to do is I'd like to have if you get out the sheet that's called the warrant from the school, all, the first 5 articles all have dollars in them. So we have to go to the public, hold in the public hearing, all 5, the articles 2 through 5, I'm sorry, have dollars in them. So therefore, what I would like is a motion to take them as written here to the public hearing.
So moved,
All,
all
okay,
5.
all
Articles
4,
2 through, Articles 2 through 5.
2 through 5, Judy. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Second. Rich? Are we ready to vote? We need a roll call. Probably it's good whether we have a roll call for this.
I think you should, yes.
Yes. All right. I don't see Vince isn't here. Jennifer isn't here. Judy? Yes, yay or nay?
Yay.
Rich?
Yay.
Hayes?
Yay.
Scott?
Yes.
Bill?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wilks is around the corner here. Yeah. Chris?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
All right, so it's unanimous to take your draft warrant.
Great, thank you.
And thank you. I'm glad we're on the same page this year, at least at this point in time.
So do you wanna move to take the budget to the public hearing as well? This is just the warrant.
No, because we haven't dealt,
Oh, okay.
these, by doing this, we've taken the budget.
The school budget's on it, that's Article 2.
Article 2 is that budget.
That's what I was thinking,
Okay, you can,
That's
never
on.
mind. Got it. We're good. I'm just playing catch up.
Dick, I think it's only 3 through 5.
See, that's what I just did.
That's the towns.
What?
That's not the school.
Vote to raise and appropriate 9/4.
Never mind, I'm looking at the
Oh,
town.
there's a Yeah, it's 2 through.
I didn't have that paper.
We don't wanna skip the 9.4 there, Bill.
I put it in the order of the agenda. It was rocking the boat over there, sorry.
Well,
We'll find out after
it's the very
I
last
thought
one.
maybe I read it one of these times, but I guess not.
Keep digging.
That's
Yeah.
it.
I wouldn't
I got
want you to
the
get,
I think I messed up.
Got it right.
Absolutely.
all right.
I wrote on the back of it, so I'll get you another one, I promise.
Do you need another?
All right, now we're playing the town, Judy.
Okay, you.
I'll see if I can use this.
If we can all get on the same page again, it would be wonderful.
Well, I would love to start by saying that, today and yesterday, I had some additional conversations with folks. So the select board is meeting again next Tuesday, and we'd like to request that we have an additional meeting because we may have some changes and some updates. That said, there are probably 2 things of interest in this draft number 6, which means we'll probably have draft number 7. We went back in and put in some additional monies for the fire department. We're not finished, we're in discussions with them about several ways that we can increase and in other areas make economies.
I've got you
That's page,
cut 4,000 from the fire department.
well, we actually cut more than that, but
You had
That's-
put that back in before the last meeting, some of it.
yes,
That's
some of it. If you were on draft 6, draft 5 showed,
I'm going from 5 to 6 was a change of 4,000 down on fire.
okay. Let me find it, because, so, we were down about, draft 5 showed us down about $25,000 cut from their budget. Draft 6 showed us down about $20,000 cut from their budget. Bottom line.
You're comparing it to something different. I was comparing it to the budget you presented last time, which was in December.
Ah, yeah,
One area.
Not from the department, but from the first selectman budget. That's where we're
I'm,
not on the same
I'm
page.
comparing it from what they asked for and what we submitted. We are still in discussion with them. We would like the opportunity to continue to discuss with them their needs, how we can meet at least some of those needs in a better way than we have so far. Which brings me to number 2, which is under executive, the select board budget, which is the very first page. In draft 5, we had taken out part-time or full-time clerk, I'll call it a clerk 2, who was going to hopefully do some bookkeeping, some grants administration, grants searching, some miscellaneous other work in both the select board office, the town clerk office, and hopefully also for the fire department with some of their paperwork, their filing, their reports. As we all know, if you do anything in the world today, there's much more reporting than there used to be. It's getting to be a heavy load. We were hoping to, the select board at their last meeting said they wanted me to come in with that position put back in, which at the end of the day raises the select board budget up quite a bit.
And also elections and registration.
Yep, and shows a, Dina, correct me if I'm wrong, it's more than a 3.89 increase.
The total increase is a 5.8.
5.8, thank you. So, if we take out the things that we've since put back in, we would have been back to where we were a couple of versions ago at 3.89. Which is why I'm asking that we have another few days to have our second meeting to try and resolve some of these issues and see what we can do, because we also would really like to meet. I don't think we can meet 3.3, but I think we can come in lower than the 5.8.
All right, the major increase that I see in what the selectmen are proposing this year is they're adding a full-time position.
That's one increase, yes, that's all new.
That-
There are other departments that have,
I'm not looking at the $1,000 here and $1,000 there, Judy. I'm looking at the $75,000, $100,000 item, which is adding a full-time position. The rest is round-off error.
I would disagree with that, but that's okay.
Well, so I mean, the big decision is, to me, because it's the driver of whether you could ever get to 3.3 or not, is whether you add that position or not. Because you're not gonna get to 3.3 if you add a full-time person.
Well, we got to 3.89 by taking that position out and also taking out some very important items from the fire department of about $20,000, which is not pennies and peanuts. And also, we've reduced the tax anticipation note interest, which we put it down to 30,000, which is what it was this year. In the budget, but we spent 45, so, you know, that's a big number as well. There are numbers out there that are pretty big that we are trying to buffer, more than just a couple $100 here and a couple $1,000 there. But you're right, it is a full-time position that we definitely would like to see. If we don't see it this year,
It
I
is.
understand, we will have to see it next year, and if we don't get it next year, Dina's gonna quit, Jordan's gonna quit, I'm gonna quit, we're all gonna quit.
I quit a number of years
And you
ago.
quit a number of years ago, you know how it is.
All right.
I also, I'm looking through here, and there are a couple of items for $12,900. Is that the Avatar assessing
They're
software?
We were,
not in this budget, so.
I don't know, it shouldn't be in this budget because
Okay.
we were able to pay the Avatar, the new software, and the new, update
Mhm.
out of this year's
Ah,
end of year money.
Okay, because they were in these marginal notes, and I wasn't quite
Yes.
sure if they were adding.
They're only there to show you what it was gonna be if we had to pay it next
So
year.
good, you did squeeze it
Next
into last
year.
year.
It's not in here, correct, and then they carried over the assessment amount.
So that,
You look as though you're about trying to say
I wasn't sure if
something.
it was time for questions, I have
Yeah,
a
go
question.
ahead.
Big picture, can you walk through this 5-point whatever budget and tell us what the impact is of the cuts? I looked specifically at, we talked about roadside mowing at one point. I know it's been cut from the budget before and then added back in.
Some
you know,
is
what are
here,
other
but some
ones?
is out. We're looking at maybe doing it every other year. If we have we always love to have mild winters, where then we have a little extra, and then we can hire someone to come and do some of that. But,
For like the police budget, there was the 3 FTE for half a year, and is that still the same?
yes, it is.
Okay.
The chief is projected to retire the end of June.
Mhm.
So he gets paid for the first 6 months of the year, and we're gonna be
They did that last
entertained. So, but we also have a new chief and a new, patrol officer,
Mhm.
and they started January 1st, so they will go the whole year, but at the 6-month mark, we will lose one, the most expensive person who will be out, and that includes benefits and salary.
Okay, so that original budget you proposed is essentially still the same for the, okay.
I haven't compared it, but we haven't pared it down, we still have those positions.
Yeah, I guess I'm just trying to understand the impact of, cuts have an impact, and so what's the impact gonna be to the town? And
Well, one of
roadside
the
mowing's top
things-
of my head, cause I'm looking at
One of
Los
the
Angeles
things Dick really
ground.
hates is a lot of the cuts that add up to some amount of money are small.
Yeah.
Instead of $1,000, 500, instead of 1,500, maybe 1,200. At the end of the day, you save a little bit, but the big ones, are either really big, like the FTE,
Yeah.
or in some other cases.
Okay,
Can I just say one thing, between draft 5 and draft 6, it was a $55,766 cut. So, and that really encompassed the, part-time for the full-time person, benefits, and then a chunk in the fire.
So that 55 is the cut from the original budget, is that what you're saying?
No,
Not from the
draft
original,
five.
from draft 5.
So how do we cut it but then go back up to 5.8?
The entire, no, the difference between draft 5 and draft 6
Was the ad.
is a $55,000, right?
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Yeah, and overall, it's been $115,051.
Originally coming in at draft 5, we had cut 170,000 and change, so we put some monies back
Yeah,
in.
you put it back, yeah. All right, I've got a question here, and I have a little problem because we're trying to hit a moving target with the OE budget as far as I'm concerned. I don't know how other people, but every time I look at it, we get different numbers, and they're not changing by a couple of thousand, they're changing by many thousands. And we've got at least two departments here that wanna say something.
Oh, I'm just here in case you have questions. I'm good
Scott?
either way.
Same thing.
They didn't wanna be home tonight.
Yeah.
Because normally when I see a department head show up at this point in time, the selectmen cut something that they think they need. I don't know what people wanna do with this. Because we're not ready to vote it to go to a public hearing, because the selectmen aren't ready to present something to us.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
I think by cutting the fire and the associated, you know, things that they're asking for, well, first of all, my problem with Aaron was I don't think he was realistic enough. And what he gave you was a bare bones budget, unlike what the school did. And I think he went through and cut everything he could see and then presented us with a budget because he thought we would go through this process. Now, you can correct me if I'm wrong.
No, I think unfortunately my last year's budget shows that we didn't quite hit our mark.
So what you're doing is you're basically taking away from members of our town that are volunteer, that are putting their lives at risk, not, you know, a couple nights a week, but every night a week. I think that they had almost 300 calls last, and you're sending them into situations which most of the time are pretty benign, you know, a tree falls on a wire, but there are those times where they actually do have to go into harm's way, whether it's entering a burning building to save people or property, whether it's they have to take control of a traffic accident where somebody is seriously injured and it's dark and it's rainy and cars are rushing around them. And what we were essentially saying when we start cutting their budget is their safety is not that important. Their well-being is not that important. And these are people that are volunteering their time to help people in absolute need, not where hours and days matter. We're talking seconds and minutes. If you have a stroke and you can't get to a hospital within an hour because you don't have anybody who's gonna pick up that phone when you call for help, that's gonna be a negative outcome. Same with somebody who's injured on the side of the road. And, you know, if you start cutting the supplies and the things they need not only to do their job, but also to protect them, I think that is a very, very scary place to go as a town. And, you know, I feel like Jen Boylston was actually really correct the last time in our discussion. It's a discussion we need to have as a town with the school and this budget at the same time, because they're not mutually exclusive, right? Our taxes pay both, and we need to start figuring out as a town, like, okay, the school budget is large, and, you know, the way I look at it is like a car, right? A Toyota will get you from point A to point B just as well as a European import will. What as a town do we think that we deserve to give our children? Because everybody's gonna want all the bells and whistles. But if the outcome's the same, and there's things we can reduce in the school budget that then allow us to pay for emergency services and give them the chances to be successful safely, I think that we really need to take a good hard look in the mirror at who we are and what we're asking our neighbors to do. And, you know, there are people here who have food insecurity in our town that are being threatened by this, and I get that.
Or heating insecurity.
Yeah, yep.
Medical.
And medical as well, yeah. I mean, people should not have to make those choices in this town, in my opinion.
I think, at least in my mind, which is one reason why I was very happy that the school was able to come down to the 3.3, was I saw that the town was not gonna be 3.3. And by adding the two together, it's not as if both of them were coming in at 7.5%,
No,
which
I
I
agree.
think was too much. But the fact that the school was able to come in with the 3.3 without adverse impacts by the use of the high school tuition line primarily, and the fund, I think we have to look a little bit at the fire department too, because they have an equipment fund there, as how we use that fund for meeting some of their needs. But I see, at least in my mind, and I'm just one member of this board when it comes to their committee, is by the school able to get their budget down to inflation, they gave us more wiggle room in the town budget. And in prior years, it had been the other way around. The school was not able to come close to inflation and left no wiggle room at all in the town budget. So this is something a little different.
I would like to strongly express my agreement with Ryan, because I think we've been riding on the back, not riding on the backs, because I don't think they're unhappy with it, but we have some longtime town residents who have supported us tremendously, and it doesn't strike me they're overpaid. Let's put it that way. And so I think the highway department, the fire department, things like that, I'm all for supporting them fully.
If I did some arithmetic, I may not have it exactly right, but if we were to come up with a budget to meet our CPI cost of living number, we would need to find another $72,000 to do that from the 2024 budget to the selectmen's budget for this year coming up. Is there any prospect, Judy, that that number is, are you looking for that number, or are you just working with what you have, you gave us this time, and see what happens?
No, I have been looking for that number from drafts 1 through 6. We certainly want to support the fire department. We've been trying to take things out and gradually put them in. There's one other position that we have, and we are concerned about the highway because we know it's very close there.
Yep.
You know, the only way that I can see to actually find $70,000, even if we don't do the clerk position, which I think we need, will be cut back some of the open office hours. Maybe somebody has to go to part-time instead of full-time. Those are the realities. And,
Can I just correct one thing?
yes, ma'am.
If you remove the full-time person and benefits, it brings you to a 3.4.
Okay.
So that's less than 70,000, yeah. 3.4, I don't think anybody
I don't
would
know if
argue
it's
with.
3.3, 3.53, but I mean,
Yeah.
what I was really trying to get was a sense that it's not unrealistic that you would come back with a budget that's closer to 3 point something
That's true.
than the 5.87. And I respect Ryan and others that have expressed concern about what the fire department needs and so forth. That's way beyond my skill set. I don't have any capability of making an analysis, and I depend on you guys and the chief to do that. So, I mean, whatever you come back and tell us, I take as
Well, I
truth.
would certainly hope that that would be the end of it, because I can tell you that I've spent many, many sleepless nights trying to go through this. Having been a certified EMT on a two ambulance rescue squad in rural Vermont, my heart goes out to those guys. I know what it's like.
Yep.
I don't drive a snowplow, I shovel with a shovel, but, you know, it's 20 degrees out and it's snowing like mad and you're out there freezing your buns off, it's no fun.
Right, I
On a
mean,
warm day.
many
On a
of
warm
us-
day, yes.
yeah, many of us have had
We all know what it's
experiences
like.
in life where we did a job that was not fun, not pleasant, not well paid, you know, whether it was in the military or otherwise. No question about that. Really, I wasn't trying to put this on
No,
anybody.
I
A
didn't
lot of
take-
these people aren't getting paid at all.
I take it, I take what you're saying, but this is, yes, we will try the best we can to get there. I can't make that decision myself. I had conversations last night, I had conversations today. I knew that we couldn't hold a meeting before this meeting, so we meet next Tuesday to come back.
Oh,
That'll be our goal.
That's the least we can do to help you out, is to come back again. I don't have a problem with that. I was just looking for some sense from you, are we already to the rock and a hard spot kind of thing? Or is there still some places here where you can,
I think we're
Little away
close
from-
to the rock, but I think
yeah,
that we need the time to, everybody realize how close we are and see what we can do to make it work.
And I think that's all, I mean, that's all I can ask, is you have to do the job with the money that you end up with. We don't have to do it. I mean,
That's
all we
right.
can do
Lucky me.
is sit here and look sternly at you.
And lucky them.
So I'm, you know, we asked the question last year, we're getting good value for our money. I think,
Yes, you are.
you know, I mean, that, you've proven that, I think, with this year's budget. And so the question goes back again. We don't wanna be penny wise, pound foolish. We
Exactly.
don't wanna ask someone to do something without the tools they need to do it, and so forth, all of that.
Absolutely, yep.
Okay.
I guess this is more of a observation than a question, but, the extra, police chief, I guess, for half a year is really driving a lot of the budget increase. It's approximately 2.5% of the budget increase. I'm not gonna argue whether that's something we should discuss or not, but I don't think that given that constraint, that we should be, overly beholden to a 3.3% overall increase or something. And so I think, you know, the amount, that increase in line item is more than the proposed police or fire department budget. So-
Right, that's a good point, yeah.
So
If it were a different year and you had 2 full-time police officers, you would have that extra cash. And that would be,
Right. Let me sort of summarize where I think we are with the problem issues that people have brought up. Or at least the issues to be looked at. One is the extra full-time administrative person is 75,000 a year or something like that, if you add all the pieces together. When we make the decision to get that person, we're spending 75,000.
it's about 60, but that's okay.
Or 60, all right,
Whatever.
whatever it is.
Yep,
We've got an identified need for the fire department for additional equipment, both personal protective and working tools, for lack of a better way of wording it. Is that,
Yeah, I think, yeah, we'll go with that.
all right, of X thousands of dollars. We've got the police chief retirement rotation, X thousands of dollars. Now, in a way, these are one-time items. And if we, in another way, they're ongoing, like the extra person. But they're what are basically pushing us from the 3 to 3.5% up to the 5.5%. Now, you may be able to play around with some little in and outs and some of the change items, but those are the 3 drivers. Are there any other drivers that are what preventing you from getting down into the 3.5 range?
those are the biggies.
All right,
Dina, anything that you can think of other than those?
how are you, Scott, on that?
But
You're
you
here.
can't.
We don't know.
Highway department normally spends the most money of any department.
Thank God.
I'm fine.
Say it out loud.
Well, it's a tight budget.
His
period.
budget is
I mean,
tight,
it's,
yeah.
you know,
He could have used more and
but
came
I
in
don't-
and took some out, but
I will say, I'm not really sure how you can change anything in the police budget though, so.
I don't think we can, but that is one of the drivers.
That's one of the big things. Now, the reason I'm proposing those 3 things, if we meet next year and have a meeting of the minds on those 3 items, then we don't have to debate, you know, $100 in the library budget. It isn't gonna make any difference. Those 3 items are gonna be the ones that drive it. Do people sort of agree with me? And if it weren't for those three items, we'd be happy and we'd be just like we went with the school earlier.
2 of 3 next year.
What?
2 of 3 next year, because hopefully Sean was successfully able to retire. So that won't be a driver next year.
No, but all right.
Yeah.
Well, no, if you catch up on your equipment won't be as much next year either.
No, but I think more, well, that's it, yeah. I
Yeah.
think more to Sean, like, Sean, if Sean is still here next year when we're sitting here having this conversation, something else has happened where,
Right,
Yeah.
but you still have 2.
correct,
If he's still here, you will have 2, not 3.
Right, that's,
right.
That's right.
it'll be a different.
But he better not be here. 'Cause
He'll be
he's-
very happy.
He's got
I will have
plans.
an unhappy neighbor.
Yes.
That's right.
Stay away from that part of town.
Yeah. Don't walk out to get my mail.
Well,
So I have a thought or a comment, and if I may, is it a good time? And I'm not an economist or an accountant or anything like that, but I'm thinking more of the concept of combining in our minds the school and the town budget going forward, because they all do matter to the town in some way or another. And so when we talk about an increase of the school budget of a certain amount, and we talk about the increase of municipal budget a certain amount, they're very different dollar amounts we're talking about, right? And so I'm a proponent of the way this draft is now, because if you, and maybe, I don't know if I did this math right, but, you know, if we're looking at what the 5.8%, that's a dollar amount increase of 55.7, right?
And 5% of 10 million is a lot more.
So if we combine the two proposed budgets over last year's approved
I see what you're
budgets,
saying.
the percent increase of the two is 2.95.
So by the time you, I see what you're saying, yes.
So that is with this current municipal budget, including the extra person and including all of the fire,
Well,
extra equipment that they're asking.
They're still cut a little bit, but
So
yes,
with
I
that
get your point.
concept,
That
I
concept.
think that it's important to look at it that way. Because
And
it's not just about the percentage,
I
it's about the dollar
appreciate
amount.
that, it's the overall percentage, which is where we talked about when we started, if it goes up 10% every year, it's
Oh,
not
yeah.
sustainable. I heard from people on the school board that they tried very hard this year to come up with something that was much less than usual, because they were aware that the town had some real needs. And I truly appreciate that, I expressed that to the people who spoke to me, and that's such a good point that you make, because overall, the tax rate, there won't be the hit that we've had the last several years when you get your tax bill. It's, thank you,
Yeah,
it's
I think
tremendous, it's a
overall,
great way
it's
to
too
look at it.
much to quibble over this right now, as opposed to, because of the dollar amount, as
Mhm.
opposed to what we just
So to
approved.
look at the total amount spent last year to the total amount spent this year,
If we add the two
if we
together.
add the two together, I really like that, because that, I think I will sleep better tonight. And, I'm not gonna be on the phone going, all right, I need another $250 to come out of this budget somewhere.
No, but I think you're right there, and I think I was hinting at
Thank
it when
you,
I said
Bruce.
I was very happy that the school was able, because that gave us some wiggle room in the town budget.
Yeah.
And by working together, obviously, we're working for the taxpayer.
Right.
Now, the one other thing that I wanted to bring up is, on all the other warrant articles here besides the two capital reserves and trust funds adds up to 410,000. Is that the same as last year
It
for the total?
absolutely is,
Right, that was the
Yeah.
question that I had about that one.
yep.
Um,
And we do know that those are going to have to start going up, because vehicles
And equipment are
and
getting
equipment
expensive.
are getting way
Well, the
expensive.
vehicle really, really, really seriously needs to be bumped up.
Yep. So,
So we've got an unmet need there.
I had one other question for Judy. Do you expect any surplus this year?
this year,
I see there's about 160,000 left after, from the 5th of December.
yep, some of that got spent in December. There was a small amount, I can't remember exactly how much, And we did use a portion of it to prepay, well, received the invoices for the Avatar
Oh, that's what you said.
software
Yeah.
and
I
the
haven't
reval.
I still have some invoices that I'm processing right now.
Okay, that will get paid.
So
So we'll end up with about,
I'm guessing around 70.
So that, I mean, and you can carry that forward, I assume, and then
we
that,
can carry forward what we have invoices for,
right.
but the unspent.
No, he means the unspent, we can carry
Yeah,
that.
the unspent just
We don't-
goes
it
into the
goes into the
undesignated fund balance.
undesignated
I understand,
fund balance,
but-
that's what he meant.
But it was money appropriated, I mean, raised by taxes and other
Raised, right.
sources,
Right.
so presumably that's available to offset, something from the budget coming up next.
It
When
goes-
they set the tax rate.
Right.
It rests when they set the tax rate.
Okay,
The
so-
undesignated fund has been drawn down, so we're trying to build it back up.
Understand. I was only looking for, and the other thing, we've talked about, equipment, fire and town, we do have funds for those as well.
We have funds, they need to be beefed up. I think we're going to get the highway department, we hope, out of the capital reserve fund, 2 trucks. And we need to talk to the fire department about what they need a rescue vehicle.
Right.
Um,
Will that, will the effect of the funds, the ins and outs of the fund, affect the operating budget or not? I mean,
I-
it's a question whether you put the capital expense in the operating budget or you.
No, we like to put the capital expense in the capital
Good,
budget.
I think that's
We-
sound.
We try and save for it and then spend it.
Yep.
And I believe what we've got on the docket right now, again, I have one last thing we have to look at, cause it was kinda late coming. But I think we're there, but then we, as the school has done with the high school fund and some others, we've drawn down, we need to put that
Okay.
into those funds. So next year will be probably a similar discussion about where we can cut, but we've gotta do it because there will be needs coming forward.
So realistically, we're not gonna reduce the tax impact by taking money out of any of the funds.
I don't think we're gonna reduce the tax impact, we're gonna reduce the increase in the tax impact, because it's already money, it's not new money being collected this year.
Right, okay.
And I think the important thing is that the town capital reserve funds are not overfunded the way the high school tuition was.
Well,
So therefore, it isn't
as some people.
available to be
have
rated.
Have their own opinions.
Well, you may see, if we get 2 or 3 vehicles, there won't
There
be
isn't
much
gonna be
left.
much
I was
left
gonna
in,
say, I can tell you the vehicle one's not, cause once those purchases are made,
particularly the fire
25.
campaign and account. Ooh,
Well, that's,
So,
well, that's not even in there.
yeah,
Well, no,
well, no, I
the
think,
big
no,
trucks are
big
not
truck,
even
but
in there. We're trying to be inventive about the big
I was
trucks.
say I can have like a 30, I won't go 30 minutes, but like 2-minute sidebar, like on kind of some of the stuff we're looking at strategically on that, if people wanna hear that, more for like long-term. If not, we can come to another point. And it's-
let's
yeah.
do it at another meeting, but
That's
we
fine.
know that you
Yep.
are looking ahead, which is good, because that's
Yep.
what we need, and I know Scott does that as well with his trucks, and which one has got the hours on it, or is not performing the way it should.
Yep.
But both you guys have equipment that has special needs, and it's not inexpensive to
Yeah.
put on the line.
As soon as it's red, it's expensive.
But as you know, typically this town supports you.
Yep, yep.
And that's a good feeling, unless you're buying a chainsaw.
that's consumable.
I'll never forget that.
Mhm.
Sorry, I'm a broken record.
Well, we put $500 worth of chainsaw one time year in the budget, and the next year we put $2,000 all tools. We spent 2 hours assessing the 500, we didn't even mention the 2,000 the next year. Where do we sit now? We sit waiting for the selectmen's sort of final revision of their proposed OE budget
Correct.
for next week. So for next week, we would have their final presentation of the OE budget.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that identifying those 3 items that are the big drivers, you know, police, fire, and extra person, will make that go a lot faster.
In the spirit of helping next week go faster, do you wanna look at any of the warrant articles and see if anybody has any questions?
Well, the warrant articles, we might as well just go through them and see if there's any questions. We've got the two people that like to spend money sitting here. All right, the first of the money warrant articles is,
The budget, we just talked about,
Which is-
Article 3.
there's three, I forget where we are here. I'm
That's
missing
in
a
it,
page
that's
somewhere.
right, so-
Oh, here it is. And then Article 4 is two capital reserve funds. Do anybody have any questions on that warrant article? That's the same as last year.
The total amount is the same,
And
the ins and outs may be slightly.
No, I don't.
we know we're not putting enough money in
Yep,
a number of the funds.
yep.
Yeah, well, mostly the vehicle.
But I don't know anybody that puts enough money in their reserve funds or their depreciation account. No questions there. We have $600 going into the recreation facility capital reserve fund. What is $600 going there for? Tennis court maintenance or something?
Well, the capital fund for the recreation facility is for the whole facility out there. We use it, the rec commission uses
Oh,
it
for
when
the
something
beach and-
breaks and blah, 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 blah. Well, not necessarily stuff that's in the operating budget, but, and this money is generated from the rental of the boat racks. So, we have to vote to put it into the capital reserve fund.
Oh, all right, so this is not taxpayer money directly,
Correct.
all right.
I don't think any of the rest
Block
of
grants,
No.
not, that's an in and out.
Yep,
Public work facility, we're taking out 81,717
Yep, that's the
for
fire
the fire
station.
department bond.
Yep.
I think that we've already voted in a sense. Withdrawal from the vehicle capital reserve fund.
Sorry. Yeah,
two highway department trucks.
Are these 5-tonners, Scott, or are they a
one.
5 and a 1?
5 and a 1.
No wing on the one either, right?
Yep.
Just a main plow.
No, it's got a wing.
Oh, you're gonna put a wing on this one?
I got wings on both of them.
Oh, all right. In my day, we didn't have wings on the wing.
It all depends on who you put in them, puts on a person though. I mean, I'll tell you guys right now, the 1-tons, I'd like to get onto a 7-year schedule. I can buy a 7-year warranty, 100,000 mile warranty. And I think I'm gonna save money in the long run in my parts and equipment.
What are they on for now for rotation on them? 8,
10,
10.
10?
too long.
Yeah, they're not exactly heavy built vehicles anymore.
No, we got, the 16 we got right now it's just about done.
I'm not gonna touch that right now.
Well, we'll pull out some of the totals we've spent on the older ones.
Oh, well, there is a time where it's cheaper to buy a new one periodically than try to keep the old one running.
I mean, it's $7,000 for the extended warranty, and it's premium, it covers just about everything,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, we as a select board have talked about looking at that and supporting Scott in it.
Right now, the only equipment we have up there with warranties on is the backhoe that we purchased last year. And the truck that we purchased a couple years ago, we just barely took delivery of it early this winter. That's the only thing that's got warranties on, so.
All right. People know enough about the vehicles right now. what we're doing the next couple of year. 8,000 to fund the computer system upgrade.
Mhm.
That's all within the fund, and that was been planned for a long time, I think, hasn't it?
Yep,
Dick, should the heading of that be withdrawal from computer system upgrade?
I think
Reserve
it's,
fund? I mean, it's very clear what it's doing though.
yeah, rather
as far
than
as the
reserve
wording
funds.
goes, the attorney will change what needs
Oh,
to be
okay, all right.
changed, and so will the
I'll
DRA,
find this too.
so.
Computer system
thank you.
upgrade
Okay.
capital reserve
Yeah.
fund is, yeah, it should probably go in there, but.
I'll see what they say, it's off with the attorneys already, so.
All right.
EMS truck for $88,000, that's new,
Yeah, that's one of the,
and that's not covered by the
Discussions they
vehicle
just
capital reserve fund,
yes,
correct?
it is.
It is? Oh,
Yeah, it just about.
It is, and that title will change once it gets voted.
That's one of
coming
the
from the
things
capital
that,
reserve. Yep.
Are you gonna
That
get
we-
something that everybody can drive?
I hope so. I don't ever wanna say that everybody can drive everything, because I've yet to see that, but I think, yeah, it'll be nice, the plan is a 3/4 ton crew cab pickup with lots of backup cameras that also hook to a trailer, that also allows the trailer to have backup cameras. So in
Four-wheel
theory, we
drive?
also, oh god, yeah, yeah, we'd be in a world of trouble if we had a 2-wheel drive. Yeah.
And I think it's important to point out that there's some funds that are donated and some
Yep.
funds that they're using from the fire association.
And there's more to come there, but.
So it'll cost more than that, the 90,000, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
So that's
Are we-
basically gonna bring the whole vehicle capital reserve fund down to zero, so that
Very
225 is gonna
That's very
be
We're
close.
all
gonna-
that's in it.
We're gonna have $143,000 left in the vehicle capital reserve fund.
How many miles are on
You're
your trucks at
behind in
70
the
years?
appropriations
Oh.
into it.
Yeah, yeah,
Close, though, yes, that's a concern.
yep,
And this Independence Day celebration, that's the money we used to make from selling chicken.
it's just hanging out there waiting for somebody to have a celebration with it, year after year.
And here are the milfoil numbers.
And the milfoil, I just got those today, oh gosh, so,
That's something, once you start, you can't stop because you can never catch up.
that's right.
And then cemetery maintenance in here,
Mhm.
it's pretty standard stuff.
That's that computer program they're gonna purchase, but just haven't worked it all out yet, so. It's an easy one this year.
All right, is there, everybody sort of squared away about what we have to do next week?
I wanna say one good thing, the fire truck payment, this is the last year, 25 is the last year,
Aha,
so that will go away.
And the firehouse is
And the
only a couple
bond, yep,
years.
the bond is gone for the garage, which is good. And the firehouse will be paid off in 27. This building will be paid off in 28, so we're getting there.
There are very few towns, honestly, like, that I visit for municipal insurance outside of here, that have the infrastructure that is paid for, like we are right here. It's pretty remarkable that the timing is worked out, that this building has been replaced, and the fire station, and the school's in good shape, and the highway garage is in good shape, like, it bodes well going forward as long as we maintain this stuff.
I should add, the school roof will be paid off, not this next budget year,
Yeah.
2027.
yeah, but you got a big bond issue last
Right.
year
Well,
to pay
yes,
off.
but the small things matter, as Judy has proved.
All right, is there anything else people wanna discuss,
Or want more info on,
or more info
If
on?
let us know.
Think of something, let Dina know.
Yeah.
She's really good at last minute
Because-
requests.
Next week, we're going to have to vote what we take to the public hearing. And that also drives people getting the DRA forms in line, because they're prepared, assuming we're not gonna change anything as a result of the public hearing.
Can I just ask a process question? So let's say the select board goes crazy and Juice stays up all night, decides to cut $100,000, and Brian and Scott say absolutely not, and we're gonna add it back in. How does that process work next week if they come up with a budget that,
We can do anything we want with it they come in with next week.
so would you go and say, I wanna add $25,000 to the budget, or I wanna add $25,000 to this line?
It depends on what you wanna say, you
Oh,
can say
yeah.
either one.
Okay,
But after next.
I don't want you to stay up late, that's all.
Thank you very much.
After next week, any quote, significant change would have to result in a second public hearing.
Right.
And we do not wanna have to have a second public hearing. So we're, in reality, pretty close, unless something really happens. We've had a couple of times over the years where something has really happened, and we'd have to have a second one.
Well, you do have that extra week, but if there's any significant, what that does is makes Jordan and I really nervous about getting stuff for DRA, getting stuff for the town report, getting all that done. So if you're gonna suggest a significant change, next week is the best time to do it.
Yep,
Well, I
because then
think
when you go to public hearing, you've got.
You've already done it,
What the
it's
budget
there.
committee has thought should be the final budget,
Right,
and that's the one that goes to town meeting,
Right.
so that's where you wanna be.
right.
Any further questions, comments? I will accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Uh-oh, here we go.
Good luck.
So who moved that? Well, oh my goodness, 8:01.
Well, people get sort of star hazy after about an hour.
I was gonna say, what's the call?
I know. I everything looked at.
You what?
Well,
Numbers over and over.
literally, Yo-Yo came in the door with Brian.
Okay.
I'm like,
Today, and
she can't be left.
honestly, I kept coming up with different
Thank
numbers, I
you.
even went to the calculator, still was different, I kept flipping these numbers.
Well, the worst thing is on spreadsheet